There's so many problems in the world, George, and we are going to have to take one by one by one. But eventually, there'll be no problems left, George. There'll be no problems left in the world. We will get to the bottom of all the problems, George. Eventually,
Well, we are
literally-
all about getting to the bottom. That is ultimately the ultimate solution to all of these problems, isn't it?
Well-
Just get to the bottom. I don't understand why people make life so difficult. Everyone's got a bottom and everyone wants to get there. All you have to do is turn around and go on then. And all of the world's problems would be solved instantaneously. There you go, I just did it, Luke. I just solved all of the world's problems.
It's all done, it's fixed. To my friends, I have the perfect life.
Well, bloody hell. That's an interesting way of putting it.
A good job, a gorgeous wife, and 3 successful kids.
Not everyone thinks that's the perfect life.
Well-
You're starting off kind of on the wrong foot right away, because I assure you some people would be like, oh God, I don't know, married life, that's kind of hard, isn't it? Raising 3 kids, he's working a full-time job, not really for me, right? Some people are like, no, I want a bachelor life, no, I want to be free, I want to be able to travel, I want to be able to do my own thing. So already, there's a bit of a problem there, because you're projecting an assumption that they think you've got the perfect life. In reality, they might just be like, yeah, he's doing all right, isn't he?
Yeah.
Glad I'm not him though, too much pressure.
With that said, George, he says, I'm really living a life of regret.
Yeah, which they might be aware of. They're just
Well-
your friends and they're not going to tell you that.
Well, let me get to why, George. Let me get
Although
to
maybe real friends would tell you that.
If I threw away the love of my life for a quickie in the back of a cab.
Ooh, now this story's getting saucy.
I'm 53 and have been married for 15 years.
We didn't throw away the love of your life.
Well,
Not if you're still married.
There's nothing wrong with our relationship. My wife's caring, generous, and loving, but she's not the love of my life.
Ah,
It is interesting, isn't it? I was 22 when I met Olivia.
yeah. I know all about Olivia.
Oh, yeah,
All the guys know Olivia. We're all in love with her. You're not the only one.
I worked behind the bar at our local rugby club where she'd come drinking with friends every Friday night.
Why, is she one of the rugby players? Ooh,
So,
I love...
George, you'd be surprised. We went on our first date in May, and by July she'd moved into the flat I shared with my brother. We spent every day together. But then I messed it up. It was my mate's 25th birthday. So we headed to a bar.
Good, this story, innit?
It's good, isn't it? He's probably put some effort into this one.
Yeah.
It was my mate's 25th
Enjoying this.
birthday. So we headed to a bar in London's Soho. My mates are in their element, flirting with women, but no one caught my eye. I knew what I had at home. I decided to leave early, and as I was waiting outside for a cab, one of the women they'd been chatting to came out.
What, she revealed that she was a homosexual?
She asked me if she could jump in as she lived near me. I didn't want her standing out in the cold, so I agreed. What a gentleman, George. What a gentleman.
Yeah, that's why you let her in the cab. Just didn't want her standing out in the cold. Had nothing to do with that fantastic pair of knockers that she had and that wonderful air and the eye contact that just made me feel as if I was literally face to face with God herself, let's say. No, I just didn't want to stand out in the cold. Had nothing to do with the giant erection that was sporting in the top of my pants.
But George and Luke, she wanted a different kind of ride.
Yeah, and you didn't.
Within seconds, she was trying to unzip my jeans. I tried to resist at first.
Is this written by the writer of 50 Shades of Grey?
It's great, isn't it? I tried to resist at first, but booze got the better of me. She gave
That doesn't happen often, by the way, that a woman jumps in
Yeah.
a cab and instantly starts undoing your jeans. I mean, normally
Well,
you have to do a little bit
I don't know
of
what taxis you've been getting into, George.
warming up. Oh, is that what happens in an Uber? I'm going to have to start ordering him.
She gave me... I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to sneeze, guys. You know what that means, George?
Luke just orgasmed.
You know what that means. She gave me oral sex in the back of the cab. Can I just ask for a minute? What's the cab driver doing? Is he not just like...
No, it does happen.
Is he not just going, guys, can you
I've-
not fucking have sex in the back of my cab?
I mean, you watched the movie Taxi Driver by written by Paul Schrader, by the
There's
way,
his
which
name.
I remembered. They talk about that, how people sometimes have sex in the back of the cabs. And just ask them. I've asked cab drivers, is that real? And some of them are like, yeah, it's happened.
It's not being funny, but if I was driving a cab, right, and there was 2 blokes or women or men or whoever in the back of my cab.
Why would it be
getting
2
off,
blokes?
I don't know why. Whoever's getting off in the back of my cab, right, it doesn't matter who they are. I'll be like, guys, gals, ladies, gentlemen, you're making a fucking mess. You're making a mess on the back of my cab.
Yeah, but they
It's
pay
in the
them.
bedroom.
Like sometimes people will hand the cab driver like 50 quid because
50 quid.
they need a place. They don't want to go to like some hotel. They want to do it right there, and they're like, yeah, take this
I
for a
wouldn't want
sec.
to do it anyway. I'm not being funny. I wouldn't want to do it with a cab driver there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but some people get off on that.
Yeah, some people do, I guess. Right.
And I think the cab driver would probably be like, hey,
No, it depends on
this
the
night
driver,
just got
doesn't it?
good. Well, it depends who's in the back.
Well, yeah, that's true, George. If you're in the back, I'd definitely allow you to carry on. Right.
By myself. Go on then. Keep at it. Keep your money. Here's 50 from me as a tip.
George. The next morning, I felt sick after the oral sex. Wow, okay. I knew I'd massively messed up and that my girlfriend would never forgive me if she found out. The problem is,
She did.
through one of my mates.
How the hell
kind of
did
mate
your
is
mate?
that?
How did your mate find out? We obviously told
He
him.
must have told him. Sometimes I
I
like...
bet when he told him, it was like this. I did something really bad. You know that fucking beautiful bird? Oh my God, it was amazing. We were in the back of the cab. It was so good.
Sometimes I lie awake at night wondering what my life would be like if I hadn't have gone out that night. I know I should focus on what I do have, but I think of her every day.
Oh no.
George and Luke, please, 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 can you help?
Yeah. Yeah, it can help.
This is a rough one. Can I just say, mate, like, well written, by the way. Like, that was very well written.
Enjoyed that. That
Yeah.
was good. You poured
was
your heart
proper-
out,
you
and
did.
it was absolutely hypnotising. Captivating it was. Now, yes, all right, so here's the thing.
So can I just confirm something? So he's 53 and he's been married for 15 years. But then
And
he
he's
goes
been-
on to say, I was 22 when I met
Yeah,
Olivia.
he's been pining over this girl who he went out with for like half a month, and then she left him, and then he met his wife some years later.
Right.
So what's happened is this, right?
That story took us everywhere. I was like all over the place.
You lost what was one of your first loves, if not your first love, which always feels like the most powerful, because when you're young, you have this optimism that this is so perfect, nothing could ever go wrong. And you haven't lived through any of the pain of like a breakup that's really serious yet. And then future relationships often begin with a slight bit more cynicism, because you're like, oh yeah, I remember falling in love and thinking everything would be paradise, and it wasn't. So then you don't enter the next relationship with the same kind of hope, but you're innocence, but yeah, hope too, and you're more mature. So you can reflect on the past one, because what you're doing is blaming yourself for all of it. But in reality, what kind of happened? I mean, yeah, you could look at it partly as your fault, but it takes two to tango. But it was the night's fault, the alcohol's fault, the other woman's fault, all that kind of thing. It's not just you; it's a series of circumstances, and you being very young. But the thing is you're hanging on to kind of an illusion. You're hanging on to something that you thought would have been perfect had it continued working. But in reality, it might have ended for a dozen other reasons, and likely you weren't even with that girl long enough to really get to know the real her. Because when women first meet you and like you, they wear a bit of a mask. They kind of cater to you in certain ways. They placate to you. Is that the right word? They
project a certain image, you know,
of themselves. Yeah,
but we all do it to a certain extent, I guess.
And then it starts to shift. And what you'd find is 6 months down the line, that woman who you thought was paradise would start nagging you and start saying kind of insulting things probably, and start testing you in ways that annoy you, and start telling you, why'd you have to do that? Why'd you have to do this? And start making certain demands. And you go, well, this isn't as good as it used to be. You just didn't stay in the relationship long enough to reach the difficult bit.
Yeah.
So you're clinging to something that isn't actually real. Sure. Okay, you're clinging to. I say this quite a lot. It's something made up, but I call it the teddy bear effect. Okay, so when you're a child will fall in love with a teddy bear. Not literally fall in love, but they'll project a personality into their teddy bear and assume that the teddy bear loves them, and everything that they see in the teddy bear is wonderful and beautiful because. My
teddy bear did love me, George.
Yeah, your one did. Loved me too, but you know, it was a secret. But anyway, you project a personality into the teddy, and that's that. It's wonderful. It's a perfect friend. Well, when you're an adult, you have so much space to project a personality into that girl, especially since she's only showing you a small side of herself. She's not showing you the whole her yet, because it hasn't had time to come out. So you've spent all these years clinging to essentially an illusion that you've manufactured. Now, the reality is, if she was so perfect and such a dream, she wouldn't have left and it wouldn't have ended. Okay, she would have been so perfect that she would have understood. She would be like, you're young, it wasn't your fault, that girl came on to you, you were tempted, you were drunk, da da da. But obviously she didn't see any of that, so she left. So there's already a problem of imperfection between the two of you right there. The other thing is this: you have thought about her for so many years that you've essentially written patterns of thinking into your brain. Meaning it's a bit like someone addicted to cigarettes, where they're in a habit of wake up, smoke cigarette, wake up, smoke cigarette, wake up, smoke cigarette. First thing they do every morning, right? That's become hardwired into them. Your brain has become hard to probably wake up, think about her, wake up, think about her, wake up, think, and you literally have to start exercising mentally to not think about her, okay? Because it's not bringing you any happiness. It's hurting you, it's hurting your relationship with your wife, it's hurting your life at this point. They do say addiction is something that actually hurts you but you can't stop doing. Because there are positive addictions, people just don't call them addictions. If you're addicted to waking up and exercising, like Luke, people don't call that an addiction, but it is an addiction. It's just a positive addiction. Now,
Which can still get out of control, by the way.
Sure, it can, but he had to train himself to want to wake up and exercise. Right in the beginning, it's not that easy, but if you do it again, and you get through the hard bit, eventually it becomes second nature, becomes habit. So if you train yourself to think about something else every time you wake up, every time you go to sleep, eventually that will be the thing that you're thinking about. Now, there are certain ways that you could do this. You could do something as simple as like, okay, the moment I wake up, I'm going to watch an episode of a television program, right? And you stick to it. And it could be something like some old show, Frasier, fine. Pick Frasier, Cheers. I'm going to watch an episode of Frasier at 7:30 in the morning.
Wonderful, George.
And every morning, that's what I do as soon as I wake up. And then as soon as I'm done with that, I go for a run, right? Something like that. And you've got, 200 plus episodes of it. So in 200 days, you'll have already rewired your brain. The other thing is,
it's a great show.
If you find that you're watching something like that and that's not working, because maybe like I'm just watching this and I'm thinking about that girl I never ended up with, you can try an exercise which is really, really good. Cool. And I've done it with quite a lot of people, where what you do is you ask your brain or you ask yourself questions. And the reason is because when you ask yourself questions, the brain naturally likes to respond to it. It just does. You ask it a question, it wants to give you an answer, whether it knows the answer or not. So what you want to do is, you can teach yourself, anytime you're thinking about that woman, what's happening is this: your brain is dominating you, and you have to dominate your brain. You have to go, no, you don't control me, I control you, okay, in this circumstance. So what you do is, as soon as you your brain starts thinking about her, you have to force yourself to go, how cool is, how wonderful is, how amazing is, how beautiful is. Those are your questions, those kinds of things. And you just ask anything you want, but make sure it's a positive. So you'd be like, how cool is it that I'm in this house with a roof above my head? How awesome is it that the sky is blue? How amazing is it that I'm alive in an infinite and ever-expanding universe, right? Sure, it's gratitude, but the point is your brain will start getting addicted to asking those questions, right? And then what happens is, rather than think about that woman, your brain will start to be like, oh, the second I think about her, I shift into this other thing, which is, how cool is that wallpaper? How awesome is that color yellow over there? How cool is that light, right? And literally start looking around. There'll be hundreds of things around you that you probably don't pay attention to. You just take them for granted. And you can be like, how nice is the pattern on that wood over there? How beautiful is that color blue on that bag in the corner? And literally pay attention to it. And what happens is, suddenly you're in the present. You're paying attention to existence and reality rather than being in your head, where you're not paying attention to anything that's around you. And even better, turn around and think, how wonderful is it that I'm next to this beautiful woman that is my wife, who's been with me for all these years, a companion, a partner, someone at my side. How lucky am I? Da, 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 da. And you have to keep doing it. And it won't take long. It might take about 5 days of you, every time you find yourself thinking about that woman, ask yourself those questions. Snap out of it. How cool is this? How cool is that? How awesome is this? And just ask it again and again. And then what's going to happen is you're going to start waking up and you're going to just naturally be asking yourself those questions rather than thinking about her. And it won't take as long as you think, but you're getting off one addiction and you're creating a different addiction to replace the bad addiction. And you're creating a positive addiction, which is positive thinking. And it really does work, and it takes work, but the benefits are extremely strong. And really, you have to look at it as a grown-up, and you have to grow up a bit and go, that's in the past. Yeah. That woman is not who she was now. She's 30 years older than she was back then, probably has a family of her own. You might see her and think, oh my God, she doesn't even look like she did back then. Oh my God, she's not my type anymore, right? All that's in the past. Come into the present, stop worrying about that nonsense, right? That's just the younger you that you're trying to cling to, and focus on what you got.
Isn't it amazing how, as a species...
What are you sniffling for?
As a species, we get fixated on these illusions of what might have been, and we create these pictures of...
What do you mean we?
You know...
He does.
Of, you know...
I used to, but not anymore.
What this person is the love of my life. But are they really? And
well, obviously not. If she was the love of your life, you'd be with her.
George, I remember I knew a woman once, right? I knew a woman once.
Just one? What's for talk about you, woman?
And I thought she might have
She served me a cookie in the bakery.
Well, this is it, George. I thought she, might well have been the love of my life. And I got to know her better, and I realised she wasn't.
Yeah, well, that's usually what happens.
But if I hadn't have got to know her better, I could be sitting here right now going, oh, yeah, I never really got to
Oh, yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
There's a brilliant scene in Citizen Kane where a man is being interviewed.
Orson Welles,
Citizen Kane. And this man is talking about... He's talking about how he once saw a woman on a ship, and the ship was pulling away, and she was in this beautiful dress. And he looked at her, and she was so mesmerising, so stunning. And he says, that was some 50 years ago. And even though he's a mature man, I think he's married and he's fine, he's quite a happy guy, he says, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that woman because of this connection that we shared at a distance, but the ship was pulling away. And it was like, what would have happened if I'd been on that ship, if I'd been able to go and say hello to her?
But you weren't.
But the reality is he clings to the memory because it never happened. Yeah. And if it had happened, he might have gone over and said hello, and then he'd be like, oh my God, she smells terrible. There's something weird about it. We don't click at all. What's wrong with this woman? Oh my God, she's got a strange personality. She's odd. She's giving me a weird eyebrow. Right? Reality is different to your dreams and your imagination. And yeah, I know you had a relationship with this woman, so it's not just a complete dream, but you're still two very young people, and she only showed you a side of herself. And the reality is this, right? Whatever may or may not have happened had you not gotten in that cab, there's a good saying, right? The saying is, what happens is real. What you think should have happened is not real. What you think should have happened didn't happen, and it's not real. So stop clinging to what isn't real and start clinging to what is real. Start thinking about what can I do to move forward, right? Because it's irrelevant. There's no point thinking about the past. Tragedies happen. Sometimes someone falls in love with someone and their partner dies, right? They get a disease and they're gone. That's a very, very tragic reality. What are they supposed to do? Cling to the past for the rest of their life and think, oh, I wish that hadn't happened. Yeah, we all wish things like that hadn't happened, or don't happen. But if they do, it's real. That happened. Unfortunately, move on, right? Yeah. Cherish the memory. It's wonderful to think something beautiful happened. You can cherish that. You can hang on to that. That could be a bit of a bright fire in your memory to keep you going. But then you have to move on and you have to embrace reality and you have to take control of it and shape it and make it the kind of world you want to live in.
Don't blame yourself either, mate. At the end of the day, you were 22 years old, yeah, right? It's fine, young woman, you had a few drinks, things happen. People make mistakes. don't live your life with regret about mistakes that you made, because you know what? We all make mistakes, and they're done. You can't take it back. All you can do is learn from them. And if you were meant to be with this love of your life that you believe she is, then you would be together, and you're not. So it's not the way it was meant to happen. You need to let it go, and as he said, you need to move on, right? Listen, you need to just let it go and move on. You need to be present. You need to live in this moment in time. You need to do things like meditation, mate. You need to do things like meditation where you have self-awareness, right? Where you start to see your thoughts. You start to observe your thoughts. You start to be in presence, right? You start to see what is true and what is not true. The illusions that the mind creates, my friend. Because that is done. That is the past. Just let it go, brother. I know it's tough. I know it's rough. You're a grown-ass man. You've got a beautiful family. You've got a beautiful wife. Embrace what you've got. Love her. Enjoy her. And live on, my brother. Live on.
Rock on.
Woohoo! Problem, well and truly,
Hey, you there, I've got some really exciting special news. If you're interested in all the kind of things that we talked about in that video just there, you're gonna love this. There it is, look at that. It's written by me. It's called A Cure for Loneliness, as you can see right there. And I spent about a year of my life writing it to make sure that it would be good and fun and accurate and entertaining and all those things that make something, you know, worthwhile. And I'm extremely excited to say that people have actually responded really well, and they've been reading it all over the world. I've gotten reviews from people who say that they've read it twice. Somebody actually wrote to me recently to say that he'd read it 3 times. I was flattered if anyone had read it once, but to read it 3 times. Some excerpts of things that people have written to me about it are, it's a great and fun read, not the tedious intellectual kind. For me personally, this was a reminder that reading can be an awesome pastime. A lot of books are boring as fuck, but not this one. Thanks very much. And anyway, those are only the first responses that I got. Quite recently, somebody wrote to me from China and said that he's now in a relationship with a girl he met on a train, all he says, because he read this book, and he said that it inspired him to go over to a girl that he liked on a train, yes, a public train, and start speaking to her. And now he says they are in a relationship and it is going well. So if that kind of thing interests you, or maybe you're just interested in the kind of psychology that, you know, we talk about on these videos, you're going to get a lot of it in depth, including my own experiences and how I kind of came to learn all of this stuff and reach this place myself. You're going to get all those stories within this. It's fantastic. Trust me, it's the best book you're ever going to read in your entire life. I wouldn't put a year of my life into writing something worthless, would I? So, you know, jump in, have fun. You can find it on amazon.com.co.uk, any Amazon, even the Amazon jungle. It's only about $10, I think it's $8.99, something like that, with free shipping. So crack on, have some fun, and, you know, let me know what you think. Till next time. Bye.